Hey, welcome back, I guess. Uh, it's been about 6 months since the last devlog that I uploaded. And I mean, yeah, a lot has happened, between then and now. So, in those news, I got married. So, that obviously took a lot of preparations and logistics. I also got a new job. I also moved to a new place. So, uh, yeah, a lot happened. So, but I didn't stop working. Um, I actually continued with this work. I just didn't have enough time to document it. But yeah, I'm gonna give you an overview of everything that has happened so far. And yeah, I'm gonna give you some cool demos. So I'm gonna read my notes here. If you're not familiar, if this is the first video that you're seeing, well, this space here, this is the it's called It's my own browser / desktop environment thingy, and on this playlist on YouTube, where this video will be, there's the first video there. I do like a quick tour of how it works and all that. So I'm not gonna skip that right now. But if you've watched that before, this is the same system still. Like, it's not a new version, but I'm gonna be using it for every devlog, because I think that makes it easier to for people to be like, okay, like, what's happening here? Like, what is this guy working on? So yeah, from now on you're gonna be looking at rooms like this. Here we have the title, Devlog 26.1, and my goal is to have one video each month still, for the whole year. That's my New Year's resolution. So yeah, something I did not mention is what mainly happened during this time is I actually made a major revert on my code base. And let me explain why. But to explain why, I'll give it a little backstory, I guess. So what I did is I removed Bun and Tailwind, and I actually went back to JavaScript, because I started using TypeScript, and now I'm back to JavaScript. And like, yeah, the reason is because having a build step sucks. It just adds more complexity, and I was not happy with it. Essentially, I was actually showing older versions of this project to my wife. I was explaining to her, like, yeah, just the history and like the progress so far. And I was specifically showing her Suna Garden. And if you're not familiar with that, I've also covered it before. It was essentially like the first version of this system. They actually still share the same engine for the canvas and the applets. Applets are these things here. And it was actually great. Like, I really enjoyed it. It was very simple. You can see that you can do these things. Here it's using the native scroll as well. As I said, it's like the same engine. This one has a few improvements. Like, this has like some some controls with native behavior. But yeah, so Suna Garden, this prototype got discontinued because Arena stopped allowing uploading HTML files. But yeah, you can play with this if you want. So if I click here, you see, like, I have all of these things, and you can move things around. If I go back, and I go here, you can see like all of the controls, etc. Anyways, I was showing this to my wife, and I was like, man, it was so nice that I could just upload HTML files, and like, I didn't have versioning via Git. Like, I would just literally upload a new HTML file to the channel every time. Like it was a snapshot essentially of the whole thing, and that was like such a nice system. It was really comfortable to use. I didn't have to think a lot, and but yeah, but that stopped being the case. Then I moved back to, well, not back, but like I moved to Electron, and I made this one here, which also works in a similar way, except that it's not on the cloud. It, like, the HTML files are not fully self-hostable, and yeah, it's a similar system. And yeah, like then I proceeded to show her like the most recent version of Ohm, which is not this, by the way. It's something that I don't even have running right now. Like I can't even show it to you because of the same reason here. Like when I was trying to do this, I wasn't able to get like the last commit running in less than 5 minutes. Like I was like, man, why did I make it so painful? And like then I had that realization, like, yeah, this is not like something that I want for myself, because it's like I was not using the benefits of modern like JavaScript bundling. Like I was not using the tool chain as you usually do, but I was using bound to transpile TypeScript, but it was like a custom system, and it was like a custom tailwind thing. It was a mess, and so I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna remove all that. Like because I essentially, what I had done is I changed some ergonomics, like TypeScript bundling tailwind, but like it gave me less portability. So yeah, but that's something that I'm not willing to trade. Like I really enjoy the fact that I can, like store HTML files somewhere and just store copies, and that's it. Like that's really nice for me. So that's mainly what happened. I removed all that and I went back, and that took me to a better place already. And I essentially created a new library, small JavaScript file called Blob Loader, and it's essentially more a concept of a loader and instead of a bundler. What I mean by that is that it allows you to use ECMAScript modules without having external files on a single HTML file. So I'll explain in detail like how that works. But yeah, like like in short, like that's what it does. It's just like it's like it uses import maps and orchestrates modules for you. And yeah, I had this little note here because I wanted to like say like, okay, so what's Ohm then? But yeah, like Ohm is essentially still the same thing. Ohm, the project, the app, it's a browser shell which currently uses Electron. I want to have like an OS mode, which essentially makes it so that you can run Ohm as a desktop environment thing. So essentially, like you would boot on Linux and render Electron immediately. I actually made a little demo here. If we go to my blog, and if I go to Devlog, yeah, this is something I actually uploaded to Reddit on the Unix porn community. So that right there is actually a pixel buffer, and so we're in Camu, and everything you see is an Electron window, and those things that come out there are windows, but they are being rendered by Electron. So so yeah, I'm like showing like, yeah, you can open Xcalc and some other apps like that, and and so on. And then like I go on zoom out, and then even like create some applets, open a browser, which is just a web view, and then like inspect, boom. Yeah, it was pretty great. A little demo video there. So so yeah, like there's the OS mode, which is that, and that's also like obviously like a work in progress. That was just a prototype, and this is definitely not ready to be used. I just wanted to prove like, okay, how reliable would this be, and what problems would I need to solve. And there's browser mode, which is essentially what you're looking at right now, which is this thing here. And then there's oh, there's a mistake here. So server, this is actually server mode. And server mode, which is what you would see at this domain. I don't know if this is gonna work. Like, this is completely unstable. But essentially it's like you would get this view. You know, it's a canvas as well. But like it's remote, right? Like you can access that from any computer with a browser, and so you just open this on your favorite browser, and that's it. So that's the server mode. And yeah, I'm essentially like working on whatever I want, right? Like here I wrote down like, yeah, I'll focus on the browser mode first, but to be honest, that's how I feel today. But tomorrow I might feel like, oh no, I'm gonna focus on the server mode because that's what I want to do right now. But you know, that's answering this question, like that's what is. And here, yeah, now that I've covered those things, I want to give a little demo of the blob loader JS, and a few other modules that I created. The desktop one, clone editor, and this prototype thingy, upload isolate. And but yeah, before I do that, let me cover these other things. I already did this, but yeah, like the repos actually was already public. Like I just forgot that I had made it public, and you can go visit here. And you know, if you want to read some of my thoughts, you can go there as well. But anyways, so yeah, like in short, like yeah, it's just a portable browser shell, and I want to be able to bookmark my web pages and browse and have workspaces and stuff. And I want it to be secure, and I want to have Chromium plugins like AdBlocker and 1Password. Like I want to make it reliable. And if that requires to eventually like fork Chromium, then I guess I'll do that. But I mean, I'm still like in prototyping space. All right. And yeah, like also, as I said, like I like to experiment more with like a remote compositor. So like, for example, imagine the server mode allows you to provide like a remote compositor so that you can, you know, use the actual native software remotely. And yeah, like a Linux ISO that, you know, like a Chromebook with Electron installed. Anyways, so yeah, let me give you a tour of these things here. So I'm gonna copy this, and I'm gonna go here. Oh wait, I'm gonna bring the whole thing. All right. So let's open a new window, and I'm gonna make some notes so that I don't forget. All right. So we'll start with this thing here. Oh wait, no, yeah, I'm gonna start here. So here, this is the desktop. So I'm actually gonna start with this one first because I think that's gonna make more sense. So this JavaScript file is essentially the engine for the canvas, and that actually is, I mean, if anything from that like work that I did previously that I reverted, like I would say like the main thing that came out of that was the desktop engine, and it's just way better than this one here. This one uses the native scroll to pan around, but it doesn't have zoom, and like here it's using the native zoom, but that gets really buggy. So this one, it also uses the native scroll to pan around, but it uses the CSS transforms for zooming. And that has a great advantage, and that's something that I explored in one of the previous devlogs, because it has an advantage because the browser can manage textures more effectively, essentially. So you could have like a huge like a huge element like this one, and you're not gonna see any like weird glitching and side effects because your browser runs out of memory. Like like you can work with this even though it's a huge texture, because in reality it's actually not a huge texture, because the browser says like, okay, this is a scroll view, and so it doesn't have to, like it can say like, okay, this is a scroll view, but the zoom is such, like we don't have to render each pixel as you would like if it was on a scale of 1. And then you can zoom in back again, and because it's also scroll view, like it's not rendering everything that's outside necessarily, like it can do some optimizations, and so that's pretty cool. Let me refresh. Whoops, I did not focus on this window. Okay. Yeah, like if you refresh, like it maintains your like the position that you were at, so that's why. All right, this little thing here is the applet isolate, which is another module, and I was exploring the idea of like, okay, what if you could code applets within the same desktop, like just see that happen there. So I'm gonna do that real quick. I'm gonna do import. We didn't have that on this old Ocelotti.js system. We now have proper imports and exports, which is what the blob loader does. I'll cover that eventually. And so we're gonna import our UI library IMA, and we're actually gonna use style tags from not IMA itself, but IMA utils, which is like a wrapper with commodities around IMA. And maybe the font is too small. Maybe I should zoom a little bit more. All right. So import use style tags, and now we're gonna say const $ equals use style tags. By the way, the editor is the code mirror editor, and so it's pretty fast and lightweight. And then we're gonna export a default function called applet, and we're just gonna return a div. And we're gonna say styles with a plural s, and we're gonna say here ampersand to refer to ourselves, and we're gonna do position absolute left 0 top 0 display flex align items center justify. Oops. That tailwind kicking in. Justify content center, and we're gonna say background white, color black, and I think we should be fine. No, I'm missing width 100%, height 100%. All right, so we have an element here with that configuration, and now we're going to, what happened there? Hello YouTube. And lastly, we're gonna export a function called cleanup, and it's not gonna do anything, but we're just gonna have it there. I'm gonna copy this in case something bad happens. And we're just gonna toggle this, and it failed. Of course it failed. Why did it fail? Let's open up the inspector. Unexpected end of input. No, not this one. Let's close this one and this one because I don't know which one's which. Okay. Exports default is not a function. I have no idea what's going on. Oh, yeah. I guess it was like, I guess there's like a name collision with this. Anyways, yeah. Yeah, we have this thing now. It's not aligned. Align items. Justify content. Still, justify content center. Just align item center. All right, let's inspect it. Yeah, this is a classical problem, like centering a div. Come on. Oh, that's because it's not updating it. It kind of worked. Like I worked on this last night and I probably broke it. Anyways, yeah, you see kind of like the point. This is not like one of the main things that I wanted to show. Anyways, like, yeah, this is just a like heavily work in progress. But I wanted to explore like what are the limitations of that. And I can show you the code. That's going to be more interesting. So clone editor equals true. And that's going to take us to the code of this desktop HTML file. And yeah, we get a nice preview here. And we get like all of these other things. And we get a document so we can see the HTML for this. And yeah, we can see the different modules. So the blob loader JavaScript module, what it does is that it helps you work with ES modules, but while being able, like, it helps you work with ES modules natively, but it allows you to have exports on your inline script tags. So let me explain what that means. If I reload it here, like, let's go back and let's open the terminal again. And we're gonna say blob loader dot save as HTML file true, which means we're gonna force inline everything. We're gonna say YouTube. Oh, it's on documents. Let's do that again. Downloads. Save. Then we have this thing here, and it's a standalone JavaScript file. And you know, you can zoom in and zoom out and all of these things. And it has the same system that Tuna Garden had, where you can change the HTML in real time. So for example, if say we want to, let's put this like that. All right. Yeah, it's gonna be way easier now for me. I'm gonna disappear there for a moment. And I'm back now. So for example, like if we play with this, right? Like say, you know, let's remove this buggy thing. We don't want it. We're going to remove this isolate. So delete element. Goodbye. Goodbye. You know, now we have a canvas, and we can change the background, for example, of this surface. So right now it's using this thing, but say we want to use, something from Arena, something from our collection. Let's use this one. And let's use this as well. Oh shit, that's not what I wanted to do. Oh no. Use as wallpaper. Yeah, okay, we're back. And let's use this copy image address. And then here, we're gonna take a look at this, and then we're gonna override this. We're gonna say background image URL. And we're also gonna say background size 500 pixels. Is that like, oh, I guess that didn't I don't know what I wrote. Let's remove this. Okay, and now we have this thing here, and we could inject like a new applet like from scratch here, but that would take me like some time to write manually. But you can do that. Like you can alter the HTML very easily. And like, for example, if I zoom out like that, and I can now do an export. So let's do that again. Let's save it. And boom, there you go. Oh yeah, I just remember that I removed that thing where like if you open the file, like we don't store the camera state on the file anymore, because that was actually frustrating, practically speaking. But yeah, I mean, here you have this like empty canvas now. Right, I think that's enough. Enough demo. Enough canvas demo. Let's go back to the module. Clone editor equals true. So, most of that like canvas stuff is obviously part of the desktop JavaScript file. But the ability to save an HTML document with all of the modules imported there inline so that it works offline, that's part of the blob loader. And this interface here to like browse the code is the clone editor. And let me make this full screen again and switch back here. All right. So here, yeah, we got a preview. With this setup with the blob loader, you always have a main script, which is the entry point. And we can look at the structure here on the document file. So we have normal HTML stuff, and then we have different ways of importing modules. We have 3 types of modules: scripts, styles, and media. And we import them like this. We declare them via HTML tags, and we have to specify what the thing is, right? So the reason why this media module is a style is because for fonts and images, sometimes we want to be able to encode those assets in CSS because we want to make them useful without JavaScript. So if I open this file again here, oh, it actually did encode the zoom, huh? Anyways, if I open the inspector here and I say like disable JavaScript, right? And if I reload, like you can still scroll, but it's actually, you can also do this. You can't use the middle button because there's no JavaScript, but this is a scroll view, so like you actually get the benefits of that, and this works without without JavaScript. And if we go all the way to the left and the top, we're gonna see that little thing there. Yeah, because I had the zoom level, like it encoded that zoom level as well. So like this is now tiny, but you can click on this. This takes you to the center. Now we're on the center of that canvas. So that's pretty neat. And so yeah, in order to like allow these HTML files to work without JavaScript, like that's why we use the style modules. So because this inlines that, and you know, you don't need JavaScript anymore. Then, so yeah, that's how we're encoding the background images, and you know, the font. This is a super heavy font. I'm gonna change it, by the way. An icon font. And yeah, like so, we say like, okay, what type of module we are, and the name that we're gonna use to refer to it on JavaScript, and then if we have a remote. Now, for example, instead of having this, I could have like the SVG here and whatnot. But actually, this would be problematic because, you can't really like write SVG, like this HTML syntax within the style tag. Like it's probably gonna break. Same for the script tags. So you can actually just encode it, like use base64 encoding like that, and then like you could essentially do something like that. But like, yeah, you essentially can do both things. Like that's actually how we do it. We inline the thing. Like if we inspect this file here, right? If we do view source code, you can see like, well, first we have the styles from the editor, and then like here you can see like we have the style module here, and it actually has the CSS, like it has to be encoded within the valid CSS text, right? And that's also how we save this other thing. And if we scroll down, we also see that this is encoded in the source here in the link, because this is random media. Like this is not something that you can kind of like use CSS with. I mean, you could do some weird stuff, but that's not the goal here. So yeah, you can just encode text like that. And then here we have like an actual style module, not really media, but like just, plain CSS. And then you name it, and then you can also set a remote at the same time. So you have like two references, and the order of execution is like the blob loader is going to be like, okay, we're going to use what's inlined first, no matter what. If we don't have inline content, then we're going to try to use a cache, because we have a caching system. If we don't have anything on the cache either, then we're going to try to fetch the remote. And if that doesn't work, well, nothing works. Well, it's not it's actually not going to break. It's just not going to be able to import anything. And so it's, like whatever HTML works on your thing, that's what it's going to be rendered. So that's actually nice because, you would at least see something on the screen, worst case scenario. And that's my goal, to have something that's like really reliable. So yeah, as you can see, like we also have some text here. Like there's an option to encode scripts, and sometimes like here, like it's you have it inlined, and that's fine, but you could have it encoded. Well, except for this one, because this is the blob loader code itself. I'm actually gonna copy it. Now that we're here, I'm gonna copy this, and then show it to you on the editor, so that I don't have to open sed. All right, yeah, it's like about 100. It's about like 1800 lines of code. We're almost there. There you go. We're gonna copy it. Yeah, so yeah, this is what I want to show. So here we have a script module, and we have to say type blob module so that the browser doesn't try to parse it, because if it does, it would fail. Here we're just storing it somewhere that's not gonna be parsed. That's how we were able to like render something quickly, because it's not going to parse it immediately. And here we have our import. We know we define the remote, same concept, and the name for that module. And we import from other modules. And in this case, the main one doesn't export. Like the applet isolate. This one does have an export default isolated applet. And then we have like some other runtime thing, which I'm gonna cover in a moment. But yeah, you see the point. All of this could be encoded, and on most cases you want it to be encoded, because if you have a closing script tag at some point as part of a string template, for example, that's gonna break the whole thing. I have an example of this that uses React and and the React syntax, and I actually have a transformer there that converts that to JavaScript on the client. And like that, for example, like really that one breaks. Like you have to encode the source. You cannot inline it without encoding. So yeah. But let me minimize this, and let's go back here, and I'm going to open something that doesn't really matter all that much, like Code Mirror. As you can see, this is a bundled library, and you get like a little disclosure here about like how big that is. So anyways, here, this is the blob loader code, and it's actually very simple. Like, it's not that complex. We expose a set of APIs for dealing with these modules. But what really happens is that on load, so by the time that your modules run, it's guaranteed that your page has loaded. So if you like within a module you do like window event listener load, that's not gonna run because it's already loaded. And so what we do is we're gonna collect all of the different blob modules and their types, and we're just gonna process them, and we're gonna get their attributes. We're gonna do some checks on like to check the flags, like, okay, is this module disabled? Sometimes for testing you kind of like want to toggle that real quick. You can also disable cache for a particular module. There's somewhere here there's like the encoded. So yeah, here when we process the script tags, we check, like, is this encoded? We also have like an auto run attribute there, and that's really useful if you want to have a module that imports itself, essentially. And that's useful for stuff like the desktop, where you just want to hydrate. Like the desktop code here just hydrates by using custom elements. So it doesn't have to be part of a set of calls. Like, as long as you register the custom component, which it does if the module runs, then that means that your desktop is just going to work. And so that's really handy for the things that I want to do. And so yeah, we just check for the flags, like we parse the content. We store the sources and all of the attributes on memory for reference, for reference in runtime. But we cache it if we're told to cache. And we cache it on an IndexedDB database. That sounds redundant, but yeah, we store it there, and you can clear it anytime if you want. Yeah, I mean, we store everything. We leave it ready for you. We do some like manipulation. Okay, before I go there, where is it? I saw it. Oh yeah. So yeah, we do some manipulation, and so here, like, okay, we have the final content for your source, and at this point it's like, okay, we can now apply some transformations, if any. And if we scroll back to the top, you'll see that there's this space here. And here we can register some libraries, but I'm probably gonna delete this because I'm not using it. But yeah, it's where scripts can hook so they can transform a module or medium blob before it's processed by the blob loader. So here we're essentially checking like, hey, is there any like existing transformers out there? And these are injected. These inject themselves as IIFE scripts. So they're self-contained, and they just like they just save, some functions here. So if we go back to where we were at about line 9 something, yeah. Here we check for that, do we have transformers, and then for each transformer we're gonna manipulate this. We're gonna look for a script function, and we're gonna pass it the final content. Otherwise, we're just gonna like render the content as it is. And then this could actually just skip. Like, I don't know why I did this. This could totally just like skip. Anyways, so yeah, then like we also add this source URL, which is really helpful if you want to know like what module are you getting like a console log from and stuff like that. And so yeah, that's injected after the fact as well. And you could even have like source maps natively, like if you want. Like if you use a bundler and then you load something from a bundler, like that could have a source map, and then you can debug. Like that's actually how I debug the code mirror thingy, because that's all bundled and minified. But during development, you want to make sense of the things, right? So you include an inline source map, which obviously grows this from like 6 kilobytes to like 11 megabytes or something. But for development, like yeah, you do that, and you get all of your symbols with their names. So yeah, then so this is an important step. So if it's inline, we want to remove the text from the DOM. We don't want to bloat the DOM, so that's like important that we do, so that it's lightweight. And yeah, then we just store the metadata and put everything here on the map. Then here is where we generate the import map, and then we check for auto run scripts, and then we just essentially call them in the same way. So here you would see like an import desktop, and that's it. It tells you like how long it took, and that's it. Then we have all of these other APIs, which are defined here at the top. So, we're able to set and get cached modules, remove them, update them. We can do a bunch of stuff. We have some runtime functions that are really useful, like these two. And this run module script is actually what we use in the applet isolate. And the add style module is what we use on the desktop one. So if I scroll all the way down, here, blob loader, add CSS, add style module. By the way, this CSS function is because I was editing on set, and this would give you highlighted CSS within the JavaScript, but you don't get that for free on CodeMirror. You can get that to work, but I don't know if I'm gonna have it in the end, to be honest. So this is just like a commodity for me right now. But anyways, yeah, so we're using that function to create a module on runtime, a CSS module. And the reason why we're doing that is because we want to have, like, sometimes you want to define CSS from your JavaScript, because sometimes you want to do some dynamic stuff, right? Like here I'm just adding some keywords. Not really dynamic because these are constants. But maybe even if you don't have these things, sometimes you just want to have everything in one place, like the desktop.js file, right? But at the same time, you want that CSS to be available on a static export. And so that's how we achieve that. This injects something on the document, and so by the time you run the save as HTML function, which is here, save as HTML file. So by the time we run this, it's just gonna get the current document out of HTML, and it's gonna have that, like, so that guarantees that you're gonna have your styles there. And yes, if this runs again, it's just gonna overwrite that, so that's fine. You get like the best of both worlds. And then we also have use global styles, which it uses the adopted style sheets, and sometimes you want this because you want stuff to only run on JavaScript and to not export, and this is how you achieve that. And particularly in this case, like, that's how we achieve these both modes for the desktop of, like, if you have JavaScript, you have like this dynamic zooming and panning setup or like set of controls. And then if you don't have JavaScript, you have like the overflow scroll as usual. So this is how we flip between the two, essentially. I wonder if that got into the audio, like someone yelled outside. So yeah, that's how you achieve that. And if we go back here, yeah, the get outer HTML, it doesn't do anything fancy. It just traverses the document. Well, first actually it creates a clone, right? A clone of the whole thing. And then we query stuff, and then we manipulate, we remove a few things that we don't want. And, we do some cleanup. We inline some things, we manipulate it. And then, we get that. This is where we actually pass the force inline prop as well. Right, because sometimes you don't want to do that. Like, maybe you have a setup where you want your modules to be external to the HTML file. That's fine. And you can do that. So that's essentially the system here. Let's see what else. So yeah, the run module script is actually pretty simple. Feels more like a hack. So you create a blob out of your source, you create a URL, and then you dynamically import that blob URL. And that's it. And then you also get what that module exports. So you that's how I made it the applet isolate. So here, we're using this from the desktop register applet tag, so that this can be hydrated. And yeah, on hydrate, we replace ourselves. We have this code editor thing, and we pass a value, but we do the UI. And where's the part where it runs itself? Yeah, here. So when you click that switch button, it runs the module script, and you get the exports, and then you run the default function. I don't know why we were having that issue. I think I did change something on the code editor about like encoding, so I think that's the problem. We can even look at the code. Yeah, because this is like very much a work in progress. Like, this is really not, not really done. But yeah, that's essentially how that works. Yeah, sometimes you want update a module from remote. Like you want to update the cache and that, or just update the memory. But yeah, that's probably also not in great shape currently. Where's my API? Okay, yeah. And then yeah, like, you have these functions that I'll probably deprecate. I'm not sure if we're really gonna need them. I guess we are, but essentially those are the functions that I'm using to render this. So we just like it's just a getter essentially for the state here. And so that's how we render all of these pieces here. And yeah, you can, yeah, this is just a utility for like if you want to get that untransformed blob URL. So that's what we use to render the code for these things. And you obviously need this utility to get the media data, right? So yeah, if we look at the styles here, like so you'll notice that some of these are grayed out, and that's because those are generated styles. That means that you don't really want to update this. Like it makes no sense. Like what you want to update is this instead. And then this one is just generated. Like you also don't want to update this. What you want is to update the, you know, the thing here. And we don't show it here, but there's metadata on like what was the module, which was the module that generated these tiles. So you can reference that as well. And what else? So yeah, I mean, I think that pretty much covers all of these things. Obviously, like this is a work in progress. Like the preview, like if you update this, it doesn't actually update the preview. I wasn't able. I wanted to get that ready for today, the other night, but I just wasn't able to, and I prefer to just release this video instead. But yeah, oh yeah, I want to show something else. Let's remove this. So here, I have this other document called clone editor, and that's kind of like just a clone editor, and you pass in a hash with the URL that you want to inspect. So for example, if I click enter, you know, this can inspect itself essentially, right? And you get a preview, but that's actually, you know, like this is pretty much a work in progress, so it's not gonna render anything. I would have to do something like this, but that's probably gonna be, I don't know if this is gonna work. So instead of doing that, we're gonna say base. Yeah, not surprised. Oops. Oh wait, no. It does work, probably. But we probably have to do like a reload. Yeah. Or not, I don't know. Anyways, this works. And yeah, we can inspect this clone editor. And so if we look at the document, you know, it doesn't have as many modules. So we're importing image, utils, the code editor, and code mirror, and that's it. We have some configuration, some styles, and that's it. So if we look at the main, that's, yeah, easier to read. So we're checking for the URL, you know, and then we pass that to this component. And then the clone editor, you know, we have some state, and we have we export a main component. We have some other function sub components here, UI components, and then we have some utilities, and that's it. Then here we just render the whole thing. It's very work in progress, but it gets the point. And we have this. We're actually not importing because I want this to be able to work without code mirror if you want. So if you know, if we don't have this module, we just kind of like fall back to a text area. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, we can also inspect a base one, I think. Yeah, I keep forgetting that. Like, I think I'm gonna have to like create a new one. Yeah. Oh no, it's not gonna work. That's why I had it like this. It was a trick, and I just showed my trick because this is not finished. Yeah, because this is where I left off. I need to parse the HTML that comes in and then create this. So there's two ways of doing this. Like one is a runtime, which is how the desktop one works, right? And then this is like if you provide a URL, then you have to we have to parse the HTML and then generate this, and that's where I left off precisely. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it for this devlog. Obviously, there was a lot to cover. Yeah. So my plan is to continue with the clone editor, and I'm obviously continuing to improve this blob loader, and like all of the other ones. Like the applet isolate is not gonna. It's just a product. It's just an experiment. Not even a prototype, but like an experiment. And I don't think it's worth having this, to be honest. But yeah. My plan is to eventually migrate this setup here, this my old thing here, to this new system, this one, and essentially just kind of like have everything served by my own server. Because previously on Suna Garden, I like that, Arena was like this thing where I just uploaded HTML files. So I want to do the same thing, but, for myself with my custom server. And I essentially have like this setup. And yeah, I'm going to migrate all of these files that I have here to the new system. So I'm going to probably write at some point a script utility to migrate things. And some other rooms here are probably just gonna like stay here, and I'm not gonna migrate them. But yeah, this is it. This is everything that I wanted to cover. I hope that the recording went fine. One last little thing that I want to show. I found out I could do this on this old system. Like, I already knew, and it was intended that like. Well, it was actually not intended, but I already knew of this like bug. Like if you drag and drop text. Oh man, that's such an annoying sound. If you drop this, like it's gonna run that HTML. Oh, I did it accidentally. And the cool thing is like what I didn't know is that if you remove this, you lose the styles. I'm like, what? So if I put this back again, you see like I get this back. I'm like, holy shit, this is so cool. Like HTML is just awesome. That's my conclusion. HTML is freaking awesome. So yeah, have a nice start of your year. I'll see you in the next one.